Welcome to Cheat Sheet Tales, where secrets slip, lies unravel, and the truth always has a twist. Real stories, raw confessions, shocking betrayals. Drop a comment if you've ever caught a red flag too late. Now let's get into today's tale. Your sales approach is too soft, Caleb said, waving me off while security collected my things. It was Monday morning. The dealership hadn't even opened yet. My name is Eli Frank, 41 years old, Senior Sales Director at Frank Auto, a family business my father built from nothing in Sacramento. For 16 years, I'd helped run this place, trained every salesperson, knew every customer who walked through those doors, never missed sales targets, never caused trouble. Caleb, my younger brother by 4 years, stood behind what used to be my father's desk. 3 days into being the new owner, and already he'd redecorated. The fishing photos were gone. The old leather chair replaced with something that looked like it belonged on a spaceship. Times are changing, Eli. Dad's approach doesn't work anymore. We need aggressive numbers, not relationships. I didn't argue, didn't see the point, just watched as Pete from security, a guy whose daughter I helped get her first car last summer, awkwardly packed up my desk items into a cardboard box. "You'll get 2 months severance," Caleb continued, not looking up from his computer. Professional courtesy. Professional courtesy from my brother in the business our father built together. I took the box from Pete, nodded once, and walked straight out the front doors. Years ended in a 15-minute meeting in the parking lot. I set the box on the hood of my truck and looked back at the dealership sign. Frank Auto, named after both of us, but now just him. My phone buzzed. A text from Diane at Titan Motors. "Meeting still on for 2 p.m.? I smiled for the first time that morning. "Definitely," I replied. Just freed up my whole schedule. 3 days earlier, I'd signed the contract with Titan Motors, our biggest supplier, to become their regional distributor for the Western Territory. They'd approached me directly after years of working with them, impressed by how I'd built our dealership's reputation. The paperwork was being processed right now. Caleb didn't know. Nobody at the dealership knew. Dad was fishing in Montana, unreachable. I pulled out of the lot, glancing at Caleb through the window. He was already interviewing my replacement, some young guy in a shiny suit gesturing wildly as he talked. Caleb caught my eye through the glass and gave a small dismissive wave. I waved back, pleasant as could be. I wondered how long it would take him to realize what was coming. A week? Maybe 2 at most, before he'd need to order inventory, and then he'd learn what too soft really costs. Dad started Frank Auto 35 years ago, a small lot with 10 used cars and a dream. Mom worked the books while he sold cars 7 days a week. I joined. Straight out of college. Caleb went to business school to learn how to make real money, he'd say. When Caleb finally joined us 8 years ago, Dad was ecstatic. Both sons working the family business. A legacy secured. But Caleb and I were different from the start. I learned the business from the ground up. Washing cars, answering phones, understanding the mechanics. Caleb jumped straight to management, full of theories about optimization and profit margins. "Customers aren't friends, Eli," he'd tell me. "They're transactions." But that wasn't how Dad built this place. We had customers whose children and grandchildren bought their cars from us. When people walked in, I knew their names. Their kids' names, what they did for work, that mattered. Dad never took sides between us. Different styles for different customers, he'd say, trying to keep peace. But I saw the slow tension building. Caleb wanted changes. Faster turnover, more pressure tactics, less follow-up service. The first real crack appeared last Christmas. Dad mentioned retirement for the first time. He turned 65 and his back was giving him trouble. "I've been thinking about the future of the dealership," he said over dinner at his house. I expected him to lay out a partnership between Caleb and me. Instead, he said, "Caleb has some good ideas about modernizing efficiency." Caleb smirked at me across the table. I felt something cold settle in my stomach. In February, Dad signed the ownership transfer papers. Caleb would take over in June. I'd remain senior sales director. That was the plan. Dad trusted Caleb would keep me on, respect my experience. I noticed the shifts immediately. After my sales team reassigned, my office moved to a smaller space, access to supplier accounts restricted, just streamlining communications, Caleb explained when I asked. Then last month, representatives from Titan Motors came to the dealership. They were our biggest supplier. We moved more of their vehicles than any other dealership in the region. They wanted to discuss reorganizing their distribution model. Caleb was busy with the bank, so I took the meeting alone. That's when they made their offer to me personally. Not to Frank Otto, but to me. We value relationships, Eli, always have, Logan Bennett, their VP of sales, said. I told them I'd think about it. A week later, Dad handed Caleb the keys and flew to Montana for a long fishing trip. The timing couldn't have been more perfect. Met Logan at a coffee shop downtown, away from the dealership. He slid the distributor contract across the table. Regional exclusive for the Western Territory, he said. You'd control allocation to 17 dealerships, including Frank Otto. Most of our top models go through you first. I stared at the papers. The offer was incredible. Better money, better hours, my own small team. But it meant leaving the family business, walking away from what Dad built. Why me? I asked. Logan leaned back. Dealerships come and go, Eli, but relationships are what keep this industry moving. You've built more solid connections with customers and partners than anyone else in our network. That's what we want. I took the papers home, didn't sign right away. Spent the weekend thinking about Dad, about Caleb, about 16 years of my life, on sea. Friday, I overheard Caleb in his office on a call. We'll clean house once Dad's completely out of the picture, he was saying. New sales team, new approach, none of that hand-holding crap Eli does. He laughed. Eli's fine with customers, but he's behind the times, too much like Dad. Once the transition period is done, we'll restructure. I stood there, papers in hand. I'd been bringing him the monthly sales figures. He hadn't seen me. Everything went quiet in my head. 16 years, every day, every weekend, every holiday season, working to build this place. And Caleb was just waiting for the right moment to push me out. I walked away without a sound. Went back to my office and signed the Titan contract that same afternoon. I scanned and emailed it to Logan directly. I'm in, I wrote. Logan called me immediately. Glad to hear it. When can you start? Give me a week to tie things up at Frank. I didn't need a week. I needed 3 days. Just enough time for the paperwork to process and my distributor credentials to activate in their system. Just enough time to quietly back up my customer files and contact lists. I knew Caleb would fire me. The only question was when. Monday morning answered that question. After leaving the dealership, I drove straight to my meeting with Titan. Logan had an office ready for me. Nothing fancy, but mine. A team of 3 people who handled logistics and scheduling. A territory map on the wall with pins marking every dealership under my supervision. Frank Otto was the largest pin on that map. Logan ran me through the ordering system, showed me how allocations worked, how to prioritize inventory flow to different dealerships. I had complete control over who got what vehicles, when they got them, and at what wholesale price, within our margin guidelines. It'll take a few days to get comfortable with it all, Logan said. I nodded, studying the system. Take your time, he added. No rush. But there was a clarity in me now, a cold, quiet focus I hadn't felt before. I'm a quick learner, I replied. 1 IR. Week passed. I spent it learning Titan systems, meeting my territory dealerships by phone, setting up my new office. I kept my phone close, waiting for the call I knew would come. On Thursday afternoon, my phone rang. Frank Otto's main number, Eli. Speaking. Eli, it's Janelle from accounting. Her voice was hushed. Caleb's losing it. We can't get any inventory confirmed. The system keeps flagging our orders for review. I leaned back in my chair. That sounds like a supplier issue. That's why I'm calling. Caleb tried reaching out to Titan, but they're giving him the runaround, since you always handled them before. I don't work there anymore, Janelle. Silence. Then, I know, but we've got customers waiting. The showroom's half empty. I felt a twinge of sympathy, not for Caleb, but for the team. Good people who depended on those sales. Tell Caleb to follow the proper channels, I said. I'm sure it'll work itself out. 2 hours later, Caleb called directly. I let it go to voicemail. His message was what I expected. Demands, not requests. Said I must have messed something up in the ordering system before I left. Said I needed to fix it. I waited until the next morning to call back. Frank Otto. This is Caleb. Caleb, it's Eli. Got your message. About damn time. We need 16 vehicles by Tuesday. The system's blocking everything. I kept my tone professional. Have you spoken with your Titan representative? They keep redirecting me. Something about a new distributor approval process. I don't have time for this. Just tell me what you did to our account. I didn't do anything to your account, Caleb. Then why did this start happening right after you left? I paused, letting the silence stretch. Maybe, I finally said, you should ask for the regional distributor. That's what I'm trying to do. Nobody will give me a straight answer about who's handling our territory now. I could almost see him pacing the office, running his hand through his hair like he always did when frustrated. It's me, Caleb. The line went quiet. What are you talking about? I'm Titan's new Western Regional Distributor. All inventory allocations for your territory go through my approval now. Another long silence. That's not possible. You can't just... I didn't just anything. Titan approached me last month. They value relationships, Caleb. Always have. I heard him breathing, processing what this meant. So what, you're holding our inventory hostage? That's illegal. I'll call Dad. It's not illegal, it's business. I'm following Titan standard allocation procedures, and Dad's unreachable. Remember, your choice. This is because I fired you. Grow up, Caleb. No. This is because I'm doing my new job. Your dealership will get its allocation based on the same criteria as everyone else in my territory. No special treatment. What's that supposed to mean? It means your first big inventory order as owner just got flagged for review. Standard procedure for new ownership. I'll need to assess your dealership status in the territory. How long will that take? Tension edged his voice. For most new owners, I glanced at the calendar on my wall. 2 weeks, maybe 3. 3 weeks? We'll have an empty lot by then. That's the process, Caleb. He lowered his voice, trying a different approach. Look, Eli, I know you're upset, but this is family. Dad built this place for both of us. I remember. I kept my voice even. But like you said, times are changing. Your sales approach was too aggressive, not relationship-focused enough. You son of a... I'll review your application personally. Have a good day, Caleb. I hung up and stared out the window of my new office. I didn't feel the satisfaction I'd expected, just a hollow sense of something broken that couldn't be fixed. My phone immediately rang again. Caleb, I declined the call. Then it rang once more. Dad's number. This was going to get complicated. Eli, it's Dad. What the hell is going on? Caleb says you're blocking inventory. I closed my eyes, phone pressed to my ear. I hadn't expected Caleb to reach him in Montana. I'm not blocking anything, Dad. I'm working for Titan Motors now. Caleb fired me last week. A long pause. What? First day as owner said my sales approach was too soft, had security walk me out. Dad's breathing changed. He told me you quit, said you got a better offer and just walked away. The betrayal stung all over again, even now. Caleb was lying, Dad. I've got the termination paperwork. 2 months severance. Professional courtesy, he called it. Dad went quiet again, and I could picture him sitting on the porch of his fishing cabin, trying to make sense of his son's falling out. And now you're with Titan? I'm their Western Regional Distributor. All dealership allocations go through me, including ours. Yes, Dad sighed. So you're getting back at him? I'm doing my job, I said. Same as I told Caleb. His order was flagged for review. Standard procedure for new ownership. Eli, Dad's voice carried that familiar weight of disappointment. This is the business I built for both of you. I know. Dad, I gave it 16 years, and now what? You two tear it apart. I stood up, walked to the window of my office. I didn't start this, but you're finishing it. I stopped, forcing down the anger and hurt. I'm just trying to move forward by choking your brother's inventory. I never said I wouldn't approve his order, but you will delay it. Not a question. I didn't answer. I'm coming home, Dad said. This needs to be fixed. There's nothing to fix, Dad. I have a new job. Caleb has what he wants. Complete control of Frank Auto. Clearly not complete control, Dad muttered. I'll be there tomorrow. Don't do anything until we talk. He hung up. I set my phone down and leaned against the window, watching traffic below. Dad would be disappointed. But he didn't know everything. He didn't know that Caleb had planned to fire me all along. Logan knocked on my office door, then entered. Everything okay? Family stuff, I said. He nodded. I heard Caleb. Frank's been calling our main office, demanding expedited service. He would? Logan closed the door. Eli, when we brought you on, we knew this might be awkward. But we also know loyalty goes both ways. I turned to face him. There's something I didn't tell you. Logan continued. Your brother approached us 3 months ago. Wanted to change suppliers once he took over. Said our prices were too high, our delivery too slow. I felt my stomach drop. He was going to drop Titan. He was shopping around aggressively. Told us if we couldn't beat competitor pricing by 15%, he'd switch the entire dealership inventory to Nova Automotive. Nova, Titan's biggest competitor, known for cheaper vehicles with lower quality and terrible service. He wouldn't, I said, but even as the words left my mouth, I knew he would. It fit perfectly with everything else. Logan shrugged. We've seen it before. New owners come in, want to make their mark, cut costs wherever they can. Dad would never have approved that. Frank has been with Titan since the beginning. Well, Dad wasn't going to be in charge anymore. Logan said, that's why we approached you. We value the relationship your father built. We want to keep it in the family. Just the right side of the family. I sat down, slowly processing what this meant. Caleb hadn't just betrayed me. He'd planned to dismantle everything Dad valued about the business, the quality, the reputation, the partnerships built over decades. I didn't know, I said finally. Now you do. Logan headed for the door, then paused. For what it's worth, your brother's application is still under review. How long that takes is entirely up to you. He left, closing the door behind him. I stared at my computer screen, at Caleb's pending order. My finger hovered over the keyboard. Dad would be here tomorrow, expecting a resolution. But now I understood what was really at stake. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept seeing Dad's face when he discovered the full truth, not just about me and Caleb, but about what Caleb planned to do with his legacy. At 5 a.m., I gave up on sleep, drove to the office, and started making calls. East Coast dealers were already open. I checked allocation records, order histories, relationship notes. By 7 a.m., I had what I needed, a complete picture of Titan's territory operations and exactly where Frank Auto fit in. Dad texted that his flight would land at $11. I told him to meet me at noon at Hector's Grill, neutral territory, away from both Caleb and my new office. At 9 a.m., I called Janelle from accounting. Eli, thank God Caleb's been impossible. The showroom's almost empty. I need something from you, I said. The last 3 years of sales records and customer satisfaction surveys. Can you email them to my personal account? She hesitated. Caleb's locked down all the data, says it's proprietary now. Janelle, you've been there 12 years. You know what Dad built? I'm trying to preserve that. A pause. Give me an hour? By 10, I had spreadsheets showing exactly what I'd suspected. Our highest customer satisfaction and return business came from the models that would be dropped under Caleb's new supplier plan. At 11:30, I printed everything and drove to Hector's. Dad was already there, looking tired and older than when I'd last seen him. We ordered coffee, but neither of us touched it. Your brother tells a different story, Dad began. I figured he would. I slid the termination paperwork across the table. Dad read it, his face darkening. This doesn't sound Caleb, doesn't it? I pushed over Janelle's email with the Nova Automotive quotes Caleb had requested, Dad scanned them, confused. What am I looking at? Caleb's plan to switch suppliers from Titan to Nova to cut costs, boost short-term profits. Dad's hands tightened around the papers. These are dated before I signed over ownership. He's been planning this for months. Dad, fire me, switch suppliers, restructure everything. But Nova makes cheaper cars with half the warranty coverage and terrible service. I finished everything you avoided your whole career. Dad set the papers down, rubbed his eyes. I don't understand. Why would he do this? Quarterly profits, fast numbers. Everything looks great on paper for a year or two. Enough time to build his reputation as a turnaround artist. Then he sells the dealership to a chain and moves on. Dad stared at me. Sells Frank Auto? I nodded. That's my guess. Look at the financing inquiries. The last page showed requests for business valuation from 3 auto group conglomerates. Dad fell silent, processing everything. Finally, he looked up. And now you're at Titan? They came to me, Dad. They knew what Caleb was planning. So what now? You punish him by strangling the business you built. That stung, but I was ready for it. I pulled out another folder. My real plan. I'm not punishing anyone. I'm saving what you built. I opened the folder, showing him the proposal I'd stayed up all night preparing. Frank Auto becomes a premium Titan dealership. Exclusive models, priority allocation, specialized service packages. Everything Caleb fought against, but with higher margins and better customer retention. Dad studied the numbers. These projections are real? I've been tracking the data for years. Our highest profit customers are the ones who came back because of relationships, not because of the lowest price tag. Caleb won't accept this. No, I agreed. He won't. Dad looked up. Then what's the point? The point is, you still own the property. Dad, the building, the lot. Caleb only owns the business. Understanding dawned in Dad's eyes. You want me to evict my own son? I want you to give him a choice. Run Frank Auto the right way, our way, or sell his share of the business back to us. He keeps his dealer license, we keep the Frank name and reputation. Us, you and me, partners. Dad leaned back, observing me like he'd never seen me before. And if I don't agree? Then I'll approve Caleb's current inventory order today. Step back and let him run the business how he wants. Your choice. Dad shook his head slowly. Your brother really did underestimate you. I didn't reply, just waited. Finally, Dad reached for his phone. I need to make a call to Caleb. No. Dad dialed, then waited. Claudia, it's Frank. Frank, I need you to pull the property lease for the dealership. Yes. Today. He looked at me as he spoke. I think it's time to renegotiate some terms with the current tenant. 2 days later, Caleb, Dad, and I sat in the dealership conference room with Claudia, Dad's longtime attorney. None of us spoke as she laid out 3 documents on the table. Option 1, she said, sliding the first document toward Caleb. You continue as owner of Frank Auto, but under a new lease agreement with specific operational requirements, including maintaining Titan Motors as your exclusive supplier. Caleb's jaw tightened. He didn't touch the paper. Option 2, she pushed the second document forward. You sell your ownership stake back to your father and brother at fair market value, minus recent losses due to inventory disruption. Caleb glared at me. This is extortion. This is business, I replied, echoing his words from before. Option 3, Claudia continued, unruffled. You maintain ownership but relocate the business. Frank will terminate your lease of the current property effective in 30 days. Caleb looked at Dad. You'd really do this to me? Your own son? Dad met his gaze. You fired your brother without calling me. You lied about it. You planned to dismantle everything I built over 40 years. So yes, Dad said. I really would. Caleb stood abruptly, paced the length of the room. This is insane. All because I wanted to modernize, make us competitive. All because you forgot what makes us special, Dad said quietly. The room fell silent. Caleb stared out the window at the half-empty lot. Finally, he turned back. How much? Fair market value, I said. You'll walk away with enough to start fresh. Somewhere else. Caleb laughed bitterly. You planned this all along. No, I replied. I just saw a way forward when you forced my hand. He looked between Dad and me, then down at the second document. Without another word, he picked up a pen and signed. No drama, no shouting, just the scratch of pen on paper, ending one chapter and beginning another. When he finished, he stood and walked out without looking back. 6 months later, I stood in the showroom of Frank Auto, now Frank & Son. The floor was full again, not just with inventory but with customers. Weekend traffic was steady. Our service department was booked 3 weeks out. Dad worked part-time now, mostly greeting old customers and telling stories. He seemed happier. The weight of disappointment lifted. We hadn't heard from Caleb. Last I knew, he'd moved to Phoenix to work for a large dealer group. Logan from Titan stopped by, surveying the refreshed showroom. Looks good, Eli. Numbers back up. Better than before, I said. Premium models are moving faster than we can get them. Relationships. He nodded. Like I said. Like my dad said, I corrected him. After Logan left, I walked out to the lot where Dad was showing a young couple their first family vehicle. A mid-sized SUV with all the safety features. I watched as he handed them his card, told them to call him directly with any questions, even on his personal line. Some things never changed. And shouldn't. That evening, as we closed up, Dad lingered in the showroom, looking at the new sign above the entrance. You know, he said, I always thought it would be Frank & Son someday. I didn't reply. I was wrong about Caleb, he continued. But I was wrong about you too. How's that? I thought your way was the soft approach. Turns out it was the strong one, all along. We locked up and walked to our cars. As Dad reached his, he paused. You could have desallied him, you know. Cut off his inventory completely. Wouldn't have been right. Dad nodded. That's why you're sitting here, and he's not. I watched him drive away, then looked back at the dealership. Our dealership, not built on revenge or resentment, but on the same foundation it always had been, doing right by people, even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard.